The boss of the Cancer Society says he'll resign if independent tests prove its sunscreens are not up to scratch. The Society and Consumer New Zealand are at loggerheads over conflicting test results on its SPF 50+ Kids Pure. Yet to be published consumer commissioned lab tests claim that the sunblock only has a protection factor of 41, not 50 as it's labelled. Cancer Society CEO Mike Kernahan believes the Consumer New Zealand results are flawed because the sunscreen was taken out of its protective container and flown to a lab in Australia to be tested.
Our thinking is that as soon as you decant a product out of a specially designed container, you're automatically compromising potentially the efficacy of that product.
So you're basically saying, sorry to interrupt, but you're basically saying that decanting the sunscreen out of its original container could it have led to the product degrading before it was tested?
That's what we would suggest is most likely to happen, because there can be no other explanation where the product's been tested 3 times, twice by the Cancer Society and once by a consumer, and the test results are 67, 60 and 41. So
and by that you're talking about SPF.
The SPF,
so
yes, the SPF.
Couldn't the explanation be that your tests are flawed and your product isn't as good as the label says it is?
Well, we reject that, A, because it's been tested in 2 different laboratories, and secondly, as I've just explained, it's classed as a medicine. So that's like saying the first tab of Panadol is faulty, but the last one's okay. The fact that a medicine that is a medicine and the very strict manufacturing processes and protocols that are monitored by what's the Therapeutic Goods Association, which is an organisation that runs out of the Ministry of Health in Australia, and they audit regularly all manufacturers of medicines or medicinal products, of which sunscreen is one. So we are really confident that that manufacturing process ensures that each of our products meets the claim on the label.
Right, and so we've got a standoff here because each side reckons their test is the best and tells the truth about the product. So the way forward was what? You proposed what?
So what we decided, or what we offered to consumer was, well, let's go together, go to a supermarket or a pharmacy where our sunscreens are sold, and we'll pick any tube of any of our products off the shelf. If you want to do Kids Pure again, let's do that. And we'll send it to any laboratory in the world, not either the one that consumer reviews or the one that we've already used, and we'll get a result. And once and for all, we'll know whether or not that product meets the claim on the label, and that's been declined. So
why? What reason did they give you?
They didn't. They didn't. So, and the other thing is that I think they've hijacked the process here too, and I know that sounds a bit controversial and a bit critical, but Consumer New Zealand, when they print the report, what they do, which I think is great, is that they send the copy of what they propose to put in the report to, in this case, us, the Cancer Society, and say, this is what we're going to say in our report. Are there any edits that you would like to make? And they don't always agree, and they don't always take the edits that we suggest. But in this particular case, the deadline is 5 o'clock this afternoon. And we got a phone call at 2 o'clock this afternoon from a media organisation that offered us the opportunity to be a part of a discussion on a scoop tomorrow with Sue Chapman, which immediately suggests that regardless of what we go back with in terms of our editing, they're going to totally ignore.
If you think your product is as good as the label says, how do you explain reports over the summer that some people have been very badly sunburnt while using your product?
Yeah, look, and as we've explained previously, I mean, it's a great question, and we take it really seriously. So typically, on average each year, and I'm sure other sunscreen companies are the same, we get about 60 queries. We've had 49 so far this summer, queries from people who've had some sort of experience, typically not a good one, with one of our sunscreens. So we engage with them, and we offer them the opportunity to go through a formal process, which to date 7 people have gone through or are going through the process. 4 have been completed. And in each of those 4 completed formal processes, the sunscreen has been found to meet the claim on the label and that the efficacy of the product has not been compromised. And so there
So to be clear, Mike, do you test the product that the person used?
Yep.
And in all these cases, you've tested the product that the person used?
4.
Yep.
4. So
what does that tell you?
So I don't want to be critical of people, but and one that's not critical.
But you're saying that you're basically implying that they're not using the product correctly. Is that right?
Not necessarily. So just like Panadol, if we go back to Panadol and use sunscreen, some people are allergic to the chemicals in the sunscreen. Like not everyone can take Panadol because they have the wrong reaction to Panadol or any other medicine for that matter. There is always a small percentage of the population that will be allergic to whatever that medicine happens to be, and that will always be the case with sunscreens. Not everyone's the same, not everyone's skin's the same, and everyone has a different reaction or can have a different reaction to any medicine. In this case, we're talking about sunscreen. So that's the first point, and quite often it is an allergic reaction. So when you look at particularly young children, that's why we suggest, so those babies that are under 12 months old, that what you do is you test before you use, and you put a little dab on the back of the elbow or the back of the knee the day before you're planning to go somewhere and use a sunscreen and see if there's a reaction.
So none of these complaints have been because of fault with your product?
No, and we have reported that back to each of the complainants.
Before we go, would you stake your job on the sunscreen results that you are saying are right, that this is SPF 50 plus? Would you stake your job on those results that you have?
Well, I have to. I mean, at the end of the day, we manufacture sunscreen for the New Zealand population. We manufacture the sunscreen in Australia because it is classed as a medicine over there.
So if an independent lab were to test this and find that Consumer New Zealand is right and you're wrong, that's it, you're gone, is it?
Well, look, ethically or morally, I think that, like I've talked to you and a lot of other people in the last few days about this, I probably would want to go because I wouldn't be proud of the fact that I work for an organisation that didn't meet the very high standards that we set.
And that's Mike Kernahan from the Cancer Society. They're staking his job on the veracity of their sunscreens, that they do, they do what the label says they do. We asked Consumer New Zealand's Sue Chetwin on the program, but she declined to be interviewed today. We did get a statement from them, and in part she says the product was tested by an accredited lab and was a 10-person test carried out according to the voluntary Australian and New Zealand sunscreen standard. She said they gave the Cancer Society the opportunity to send their own test results through, and that the Cancer Society provided results for a 3-person test, not a full 10-subject test, which she says they would have expected given the difference that they found in the product's SPF. She says that the Cancer Society's claim that Consumer New Zealand's results are compromised because they decanted the sunscreen into a light-proof container before sending the sample to the lab. She rejects that claim. She says it's common for samples to be sent blind in this way, and that the sunscreen was packed according to the lab's instructions. And she says that the Cancer Society should put its resources into retesting its sunscreen rather than attacking Consumer New Zealand.